Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Alex, aka Poly Monster, and I'm talking about Dig, a music app that I've been working on. There's some other videos on this channel that will give you an overview of what that is. It's a music app for record collectors to browse music stores, basically. And what I'm specifically going to go through today is a pull request I have here, which was generated by Claude code. So I did a call with my friend Dan yesterday, and we used Claude to do some tasks on Dig. Dan is not a software engineer by trade, but he's working on he's started a startup and he's made an app, and he's using AI to do it all. So he's been kind of like, mind blown by all this stuff, and it's given him the ability to make things that he wouldn't be able to do otherwise. My perspective on AI coding, like up until this point, I've just been asking ChatGPT or Copilot and kind of a little bit of things like that. No, I haven't done any full agent coding. So I'll put that other video up, and that's us just kind of chatting about it and going through it. But this is the code or the pull request that has been submitted. So what it is self-explanatory. Add hard wax scraper with electro, house and techno sections. So what is hard wax? Hard wax, this is a website, a music store basically, and we specifically wanted electro section, for example. I wanted electro, techno and house for the time being. And what it does, or the way the app works, is I've already got this for other stores like Red Eye or Juno or other record shops, and it's just a scraper that parses the HTML and gets all of the information and puts it into a JSON file. So just as a quick one of Dig, this is Dig. It's just like an interface, like an Instagram interface. So the information is scraped from a website and then put into a database, and then displayed in the app with a different UX and a UI, and kind of trying to make it smooth and seamless to use as a record store agnostic way of browsing for music, basically. So in terms of the scraping infrastructure, there was stuff that was already set up. There's a thing called stores.json. So these are the existing ones. This is on main, so this doesn't have the code yet from Claude. But Phonica is a record shop, and then so far I added this one not that long ago, and there's a bunch of YouTube videos of me doing that. It took about a week, so a week of time to do Phonica, and I'm just scraping tech house and techno. This is more like metadata to drive the thing, because once you implement it, you can then just parameterize this and add more sections or stuff. So you have sections, display name for the sections. We have views, which are things like bestsellers, essentials, new releases. So for each section, you could have the new releases of that section. So for each store, you have sections and views, and that's how the information's kind of grouped together. You also have some ID numbers, a view order, which is the order they appear in the UI, and then this is the stores for Juno, Red Eye, and so on, Yoyaku. So the idea here is that we're getting Claude to add a new store to this stores.json. Then we have these files, which are one per record store. So we've got, let's say Juno.py. What it is we have to implement this function. So if we add a new store in the JSON, it looks for a scrape page function in a file called the store name, and this essentially what it does, it loads the HTML, it parses it, and it finds information. Right, it finds the information about each individual release and updates it. You have stock information and the label name, the catalog number, artworks, tags, track names, track URLs, and so on. There is a schema for this, so here's the template. Essentially, for each store you have sections, views. For each release you have ID, store link, artist, and all of this. So this kind of blueprint's I thought this was an easy example to get Claude to do something, because it's quite a well-trodden path. There's also, structure and code that it can reuse. So inside diig.py, this has a bunch of stuff like a rate limiter, a request URL, fetch and cache a page. It's like it has utility functions, and it has like these kind of parsing ones: find and parse an element, or find and parse nested elements, get value from a HTML body. These things you could use another dependency. I started this project and I actually wrote this myself. This is sort of raw dogged coding, but it might not be the best. And there probably are libraries that would do it better than this. But part of the fun of doing this in the first place was actually writing this code to parse the stores. But, as you can see, I did already, I've got Phonica, Juno, Redeye, and Yoyaku. So I have 4 stores. These are the ones that I use. The app itself's got about 35 users. I did a very small beta for people that could apply to do it. And some people specifically asked me for hard wax. They also asked for dex.de, dj.de, so German record stores from the German people, I assume. And so for me, it's like I'm in the UK. I buy stuff on Juno and Redeye and Yoyaku. Sometimes Yoyaku's in France, but sometimes I ship because they have a distribution. But what I'm saying here is that I've implemented stuff that I want, and maybe now I could just use Claude to generate loads of stores for people, because I've done 4 of them. I've written the code. There were some challenges, like Phonica is quite different because you can get the JSON, and the way the store's created is a bit different, whereas some of the others are more HTML parsing. And I think I've done 4 of them now. So if there's loads of record stores. So if we can get Claude to generate this for me, then this is going to be amazing. So the first thing is, it's, what's it done? It's changed 8 files. Probably another thing worth mentioning is that there is GitHub Actions on this. This is the scrape runs nightly, so this is running the scraping for each of these to update the information, and they're in GitHub Actions workflows. So in here we have these are the jobs. There's a bunch of them. There's scrape single, so it's a record store. It runs and it gives you a choice in the drop down list, right? And then the normal scrape job is a matrix which has, where's the matrix? Here we go. So here's the matrix. We have Redeye, Juno, Phonica, Yoyaku. So what we want also Claude to do is add everything into there as well. And if we look at the pull request, then it's kind of done all of these things. So it's added to the YAML files for the GitHub Actions. It's added a reference HTML in here because that's, keeping one around is handy to use for referencing. It's added command line args, and it specifically because the Firebase database needs authentication, so I asked Claude to add a path where you can bypass the Firebase and just do a local kind of scrape and output the JSON at the end of it. It's added a hardwax.py, which is just 300 lines, and it looks amazingly the same as the code that the rest of my code, because I said kind of follow the infrastructure and the conventions. So it's done it pretty well from just at a glance. But what I'll do first now is actually just get open a terminal and let's check out the branch. Now I'm going to pull the branch with the changes in, and then we're going to run the scrape. Let's go with Electro because that was the one I used as the initial example. And we're just going to do one page. And this should, so what this should do, it should run. It will generate a JSON file for the registry for hardwax, which will output the information. And because this is running on my local machine, I have auth for Firebase, so it should push the changes into the database, and then I should be able to check on the app and see the information visible in the app, which I'll do on Android simulator on my PC. Okay, so it's actually crashed. So here I just started manually going in, looking at the code. I discovered the issue. It's not necessarily a bug, but just the way that the data is input from the code Claude generated actually just triggered a dormant bug in the code base. So not Claude's fault, my fault technically, but it's found an edge case. I think it could be resolved by, of running the test more. It probably would have found it, or like, if we gave it more examples that it could run. I think we tried the output after one test, and then we added some more code, and then we didn't test it. So probably a mistake on our part there. So if it's sectionless, then we run the scraper, and then we can basically we can just break from the section loop, and then it doesn't rely on finding the index and the ordering of the section indices, which was just a mistake, or not a mistake, it was refactored. Okay, so then we go back with the same command. Let's run the command again. Now it should do this week. And that fixes the crash. Claude, and then, okay, so this means it has pushed something to the database. It's added hardwax.json. This is the output. So, for example, hardwax, this URL is the first release in the list. Let's open it. Detroit in effect. Who's in control? And if we go to Electro, that is the first item on the list, right? So this has indeed worked. Let's see if we can hear the MP3 snippet works that it's provided us. Does the artwork work? The artwork works. And then it gives us a big one as well. Big one. The two big ones are the same, but that's how the other ones do it as well. They always fill up 3. Some stores don't have 3 images. So that's correct. It's got the tracker keys, which are, this is for organizing its position in a chart. I wonder about, so there's some things to check that these flags out of stock has charted. I don't know how they appear on Hardwax, but so far it's looking pretty good. Let's go into dig registry. I need to pull just pull it up to date. So now we know, the information's in there. Everything, I suspect is all work. Machine learning. Yep. So, it's done it, and we've also pushed it to the database. So, right. So, I mean, it works. Let's check if it works in the app now. So, I just need to open Android Studio. Back to Dig again, and let's run the debugger on Android Studio. At least this time I shouldn't have to log in. Okay. we have hard wax. Detroit in effect, we know it was that. And look, this is it. There's some tweaking to do, but basically it's worked. So hard wax latest, it works in the app, which is pretty amazing. The last thing to do now then is to just check the scraping works. So it's added a scraper, the automation of the scraping. We know the scraping works now. What I'm going to do is I'll just kick off a GitHub action. And what we can do is we can do scrape single. This is so we can run it on the hard wax branch, and Claude also has added hard wax in the drop down for us, so I have access to that. So now if we run the workflow, it'll probably take a little while for it to do its thing. So I'm going to kick this off. And probably just leave it a bit, and then we'll come back, and if it succeeds, then we should have more information in the app that we can use and look at. And then, I mean, in the meantime, actually, while we wait for this to complete, it might be worth looking at the pull request, actually. I mean, it has already been merged, but that is fine. We can look at it again. Because basically, I'm ready to take these changes without any modifications. So let's go through and let's actually do code review, right? It added hard wax to the Discogs YAML matrix. This is another job that runs nightly. I should probably kick off one of those as well while I'm here. So Discogs single, what this does is it runs through, it hasn't added, they haven't added hard wax. So that was, oh no, sorry. They have, of course they had, I was just looking at it in code. Right, anyway, hard wax, on the hard wax branch, we're going to run Discogs. I mean, there's not much in the database. This one will run and complete quite quickly. What it does, it goes through all the releases. It tries to find them via the Discogs API, client API, and then puts a Discogs link. So you can then add a release to your Discog want list. If it's out of stock on a shop, then you can get it on Discogs. And then it's going to be a useful way to like kind of unify the database by using Discogs as kind of like the source of the truth. So we added hard wax into that, and then we're going to look at hard wax related entries and try and find Discogs for them. The single Discogs one, we had it in the drop down and we saw that happening. Same goes for scrape. Scrape adds it in the matrix, and scrape single adds it in the option in the drop down. Let's have a look at the rendered diff. I mean, this is just hard wax. It's useful because this can be used to check for changes to the website itself. Right, so now we've got diig.py, which is a bit more code. It added local only, skip Firebase auth and patching, and only write to the local registry files. We add local only. It adds a gate to bypass Firebase auth. Which is fine. I probably oh yeah, that's fine. Fix store if not patch only. I want to see this on split diff. Okay, so yeah, what we have is if patch only, we scrape the score, the store. If not local only, we patch the store, and it prints out local mode only. That's fine. Local only, otherwise we update stores, which is fine. So that's all good. Perfect. Not really that much in the way of changes. We have hardwax, which is the bulk of it. And then we have stores.json. Stores.json we already looked at. We got house, electro, techno. New releases this week, last week. 50 pages, and then just 1 page of this and that. And we know that's working. The scrape rate is set to 5. That one is all good. So this is just... this is the code itself, right? Basically, this is the main thing that it's generated, which... yeah, it's a scrape for score scrape. Wow, I can't even talk. Scrape page function, which is what we want to do. It uses the same kind of thing, basically. This is it. You know, it's almost just copy and paste. This is a bit boilerplate, copy and paste. So it has generated the boilerplate. This is dict. This one, we open it. So there's no need for this line. This is superfluous. Articles. But that's fine. That's superfluous. We don't need that bit of code, but it doesn't really matter. We open the registry. We call the load registry function. This is there because in future I'd probably want to change how that's stored. And this is a local copy of the database, essentially, just to save the traffic and the requests to the database, while it's still small enough to keep a local copy that's viable. Then it iterates over the articles. It calls them articles. That in other stores it might be called releases, but they are called articles in the code, in the website code. So it's fine that it did that. So then we have a parse ID function from the article, and some sort of error handling for that. We input, store an ID, early out. This is another block of code that is in the rest of the code base. Basically, some releases are in multiple places, like it might be in house and electro. If you've updated it in your current scraping section, most likely you're just going to basically update these things, which are the out of stock information. So then we have these functions: parse link, parse artist, parse title, parse cat, all of those things. And you know, this is basically, it looks identical to the other ones that I've written myself. These functions, article find. It's just doing some finds. It uses my utility functions, find and parse elem, get value, which is quite nice. And it's nice to know that they've worked. You know, find and parse elem, get value. I think it's pretty nice. And this is basically exactly like I would do it. Even the commenting, right? Let's have a look at Juno. For example, oh no, wrong Juno. Parse ID, parse link, parse label. You know, probably I've got less comments, but parse tracks. You know, it's like these little functions. They do a bit of the stuff, and then you've got the scraping page, which is like, you know, read the HTML. Same thing. It even copied my mistake. Like that superfluous code. It copied that. It's almost just copied it verbatim, you know, which is kind of cool because I don't know. I guess it's like it made it easy, you know. So basically, what I'm gonna do now is just say like, yeah, good job. Basically, it's already been merged into here. Into a staging branch, and then let's see how the actions are going on. Scrape single has failed with hard wax. Ah, did I didn't push my change, did I? Right, it has now finished, so I left it a little while. I was just looking at some other stuff and let the scrape single complete. It took 13 minutes, which is pretty good. We can see it's parsed electrode page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, to 21 new releases. I mean, yep, it's done it, basically. They're all there. It succeeded. It updated the database. And also the Discogs job also succeeded. That ran before, though, and it wasn't... Let's see what it said. I mean... Seems like it's done pretty well, actually. I mean... So 83 out of 85, it failed on 2, which is fine. But no failures. So this has worked, basically. The pull request now, let's have a look. Let's just do an Android build. Let's run it on Android. And... yeah, let's just take another look at hard wax and then merge that into main and you know, fully YOLO it. Seems a bit slow, but so it seems like the images are low res, but I think I'll just roll with that for the time being. And then what it needs to add some metadata in the store configuration to set the preference for the images. But I mean, hard wax is in, and that's it. So actually, what I'll do. We're up to date. And then, well, yeah, let's do it via pull request. We'll do pull request into main from hard wax. We verified that, and it was in, yep. So that's the real pull request, but it was just more convenient for the branch. So just waiting for it to merge. Yeah, basically that's it then. It did it. So let's talk about that. It took about an hour on a call. We chatted with Claude and told it what to do. It generated it in an hour, and then it's taken me about an hour to review the pull request. Okay. So I'd say that was 2 days work, because earlier I did say that Phonica took me a week. It actually, it was like an hour a day or a couple of hours a day, like of me just doing it manually. So this has definitely accelerated it, but Hardwax was also a much simpler website to parse than Phonica, which had some different kind of new stuff that I had to do. So it was an easy task, and it did it. And I did have to review the code, and there was an error. I'm happy I went through this manual process to confirm that it worked. I think that it'd be interesting as a pull request becomes more complex. Like, this was very easy to review. It was very self-contained. Essentially, it made one new file, which was the majority of code that it changed, and it's all isolated, and it's all for Hardwax. And then the files that it did merge into, it was adding very minimal, it was appending its own bespoke information for the store. So it's like, it's a whole JSON object of its own. It's not interleaved with any of the existing code. So it's like, it's still quite isolated. Although it has done an excellent job, exactly what I wanted it to do, and in very much the same style. So that's pretty cool. I think next time what I would like to do is just, hopefully we can keep that as a blueprint, and I would like to knock out, like, let's say 5 more record stores, and kind of merge them all in, and kind of trust it a bit more. I think you'd have to, like, still review the code, but just try and take on a bit of a bigger body of work, and see how that goes. And then after that, looking at some stuff of how it could work in the app itself, so can we modify the app? Can we do something in there? Can we get it to work with the database? And lots of interesting stuff to try. So I think that's probably a good place to leave it. I don't know why this is taking so long to... okay, we can. Okay, so let's finish the video here. I'm going to squash and merge Hardwax into main. We're co-authored by Dan Paz and Claude. And that's how you get the Peas in the Pod achievement, co-authoring. So where we are is Dig and 3 people. The Claude bumhole. Look at it. Right, well, that was this. Oh, now we've got Claude in there. Oh, for God's sake. He must be getting bare contributor stats, right? So we've got 5 contribs on there. That's fun. Well, yes, Claude did do a job quicker than I could have done it myself, and exactly how I would wanted to have done it. I think that's very interesting. Before doing this, I actually maybe thought a bit like reluctant to using the agent coding and wanted it to fail, or was being like defensive or threatened by it. But I actually don't feel that way. I think it was like quite cool and interesting. And then you have these people who say, don't get left behind. Don't get left behind. And they try and pretend that, there's a skill issue to the prompting, and that if you can't do something, it's a skill issue. Well, I just told Claude what to do, and it did it. I don't think you need any skills to do that. I think maybe the skills were that the repository was already structured quite well, and that there was a template to follow, and there was a very well-defined schema for all of this stuff. So it found it easy, maybe. So it was easy, and I just told it what to do. There is definitely no skill involved in this, right? For the people who are saying that there is, I don't believe you yet. Because right, so let's try and do some more difficult tasks next, and we'll chat with Dan again, and then do some more stuff. But for now, I'm going to call it a day, and then get these videos edited and up. So have a good one. Bye. Check out my GitHub, my YouTube at Polymonster. You can find everything from my GitHub, and have a look at this code. And don't inundate me with AI slop PRs though, please, because I have to review them, and that's taken me an hour. So anyway, have a good one, and bye.